Good morning. I'm preparing to walk with Ann on her morning walk so you can get an idea of this trail behind our house and where it goes. So as we start out, we're leaving the house, going to the left, and we're going to turn to the right and follow this trail along down here beside the school. So, you have anything to add, Ann?
Yes, I do. A couple days ago we saw a very, very young baby deer on the trail with its mother.
And that would be just around the back here, almost at the end of the school property. This particular trail goes into the next neighborhood called 12 Oaks, and total from our house to the end is right around 2 miles.
Yes, but we're not going the whole 2 miles. We're just going to go 1 mile and then turn around and come back.
You'll probably be slightly surprised at how hilly this is. Hopefully the camera will give you some perspective on that. As you can see, they finally worked on this. Sorry, I have to stop for a second and readjust my tripod. There you can get a good view of Ann, both the front and the back side. I'll speed up a little bit to catch up with her. She moves pretty good. On the way out on this trail, we typically go about 3.5 miles an hour. And on the way back, about 3.4 to 3.2. So right now, just getting started, we're traveling, according to my wheelchair, about 3.7 miles per hour. I want to point out that this is not a very strenuous walk for me, but it could be if I were to forget to recharge the wheelchair overnight. Anyway, this is what it looks like behind our house. I'll stop here for a second and pan around and show you the back of the school so you get some idea of what we're talking about here. This is the school that Carter goes to. So you can see the school. And then we have 6 of these wonderful outbuildings here already. When was this school built, Ann?
I think 3 years ago.
So you can see we're already completely full. We have outbuildings after 3 years. So now we're going to start and go to one of the first downhill portions of this. And just up here around the corner is where we saw the deer and the fawn yesterday morning. Temperature out here is probably in the high 70s. Beautiful sunshine. Both Ann and I have sunglasses on, and that's one thing that you notice down here right away. It's pretty important to have a good pair of sunglasses because we get a lot of sun during the day, and your eyes react to it quite efficiently. Now, you can't really see it to my left, but this is the pond that's been put in here by the school to catch their runoff water from the parking lot and the school. It's pretty well policed, and in this area for all builds, you'll see numerous builds with sediment fences around them and things to capture and trap the sediment, prevent it from going downstream in the runoff from rainstorms.
There are very pretty water lilies and cattails in the ponds. Yeah, that's right.
That are coming up in this area. Now we're off the end of the trail that was built by H.H. Hunt, and we're moving down the trail that was finished by the 12 Oaks subdivision in going on out here. The one thing you'll probably notice about this subdivision is that in the areas we go, it's primarily what would be called single-family homes on lots. To the left up here, we'll see some townhouses,
We do have.
but not many. So these houses right in here are a few townhouses. Again, these are on the entrance side of the lot. But as we go forward, it will be primarily, sorry for the bump. We're going to come up here for a second, and when we get past the cars here, we'll make a stop here. And the primary reason that these are called townhomes and not villas is because they are essentially connected directly to each other with no space. So turn around this side, you'd say.
The electric cables going to the nuclear plant.
So behind us is the power line that runs up through this right away. And what we're told is that these are the power lines that run from the south down at the Duke nuclear plant up here. An interesting point would be that we are what do you want to do?
Go ahead. Sorry, I want to show you going down this way.
That we are right on the edge of the warning zone for some type of an accident at the plant. Then we would receive a various number of texts and emails and even a phone call to let us know that there'd been a problem, and typically the nature of the problem, whether we need to go and get some iodine pills locally from the fire department, or whether we should just stay inside of our house because it's a minor leak. That was tested earlier this year, and both Ann and I have received the text, and we got messages on our phone, that would be our cell phone, and we have a house phone enjoying the massage. It's almost a full body massage. Now we're traveling uphill, which is the reason you could only see sky there for a second. It's quite a hill. Division, just a second here, and I'll let Ann pass, and then I'll pan around here so you can get an idea of the size of some of these houses, yards, etc. This guy here appears to be a 2-story residence. I'm not sure, what were these listed at, starting at the
I don't know what they are.
high 400s or
I'm say 500-600.
going up to about 1.2 to 1.5 million, depending on space. But anyway, we're kind of up here to the road, and they've provided a nice parking area up here on the road.
For the golf carts.
Ann said that was for parking for golf carts.
To take their kids to school.
People ride in golf carts to this point, and then they will take their children up there, park, and walk up the path back to the back side of the school where they can go in. And down one of the, probably the second biggest hill on this, which is quite a effort when you're coming back. But right now we're how far?
I think it's about a half a mile.
To the first road. And then we're going to go over 2 roads to the point where we turn around. But basically this trail is following along the power line. Good morning.
I think we'll get to see the
Just so
power.
you know, we have no idea who that guy was, but that's typical reaction. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi.
Yeah, I know. You don't like it. It looks like something you should bite the wheels on. That's an unusual situation. There are dogs here, but most of them are not prone to barking or very aggressive. And it may be due to the fact that we're doing this on Sunday morning, so we're seeing a few more people than we see normally, a lot of the people here. Now we're coming up to a bridge, again, another bump. This one is not quite as even, so just hold on while we get on here and ride across. Sorry about the camera angle. We had a little problem with the tripod remaining stable. Fixed that. And we're back, flying along with Ann. But you can see that the housing and stuff in here is, in the yards are reasonable sized and reasonably and well taken care of. Now, we don't know over here whether you get yard service or not, but we do know from inquiries that the HOA over here is about 2.5 times what we pay. We do get lawn mowing and some assistance with our maintaining our shrubbery from our current HOA. Good morning.
Good one.
Let's see what you got there.
We're going
Yeah.
When are you going fishing?
after nap time.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
See you later.
So is this nap for mom or for you?
All of
I
us.
found all
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Yep. As we're going up here, you can see that I had to stop to readjust the camera. The bridge back there managed to bounce me around to the point where I wasn't very stable, and I'm doing this from a very small tripod. This is truly low budget filming at its best. But anyway, you can't really see the grade, but we're going up a fairly robust grade, which is higher than any or steeper than any of the ones that we've previously gone up or down, and this is also the longest grade that will be in this video.
There is another big hill on the second mile.
Really? I missed that.
Yeah.
Bigger than this one? Oh.
Remember? You can see it. You can video it. We go down it first. And then when we turn around, you come on.
Ah.
Probably not as big as this, but it's big. I'll show you when we get to the end.
The one thing nice about this particular portion of the path is that there are several areas that are shaded, so you get some relief from the sun, and believe you me, later in the afternoon and early evening when it's approaching 90 degrees, this can be a much more pleasant area to walk through than some of the other paths. Our subdivision has no mature trees in it, so you're pretty much exposed. And if I have to be out there at certain times of the day, oftentimes I carry a large golf umbrella so that I can open it up if I need to stop or look at something, or if I want to watch what's going on and get some shade. So crossing another street, we're going to go about another quarter mile, and then we'll be making a turnaround. Sorry I had to stop briefly to readjust the camera. The bumps are taking a toll. Maybe I'll have to look at getting a slightly different tripod. I have another one, but this one seemed to be working well when I did some video in our neighborhood, but it's not quite as bumpy there as on the trail. Even though this is a very nice trail, you notice when you're riding that it can get quite a bit rougher than you might like. Good morning. It was quite nice of Duke to install this power line in right away so that we can get in here. I'm going to turn around here a little bit to the right and go by here so you can see. There's also a golf course as part of this particular subdivision. As you can see, there's a couple fellows out there taking advantage of the early morning opportunity to get some
and playgrounds, and they are expanding their housing and will be putting in another pool.
That's what you get for 2.5 or 3 times what we pay for an HOA.
It's a very expensive neighborhood in Holly Springs, maybe the most expensive one to live in.
And it is also extremely well maintained.
Here, show the power. I wanted them to see that.
So this may be hard to see, but we're going to look down the power line, and if you look carefully, there's a large cooling tower in the distance with steam coming off of it. That is the nuke plant, and that's how close we are to the nuke plant.
I love seeing it every day.
And we're now approaching Ann's turnaround point.
See this other hill here, straight ahead of you, is going down for quite a long way. Almost another mile that goes down. That whole second mile is downhill. That's a pretty steep part right there.
Goes way out to the end of the subdivision and ends right in the middle of the woods. No barrier, nothing, just the end of the asphalt. You stop and turn around. Alright, so we're going to try to go back. May not use all this video on the way back, but we'll try to do something. But we're hoping to just be telling you a little bit about the area where we live, and giving you a little bit of a scenic tour. I have to be careful because it's easy for me to go too fast as I'm running on batteries and Ann is running on breakfast. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea of where we live and how pretty the area is. This is one of the activities that Ann does every morning. I don't always go. It seems to be an activity that most times she would prefer to do in solidarity.
Don't say that.
There are times when husband and wife just have to get away from each other, if you know what I mean. So we're back in the shade. We're moving along about 3.7 miles an hour. Good morning. We're back up to a road crossing about a quarter mile from where we turned around, and I'm going to slow down here, and with no traffic I'm going to kind of turn and give you a view up the street so you can get an idea of the homes in this neighborhood as we go up the street. There's a cul-de-sac right in front of us where you go up and turn around, but these are all single family homes with some smaller houses. Now we're going to come around and look the other direction up the street. You can see that some of these houses are bigger. There's a new build on the end of the street. And going up. I'm sorry, what were you saying about?
They have smaller ones, but they're much more expensive than ours.
And then
they have our same size, I should say.
Yeah. And then the houses in this neighborhood do tend to get much larger in terms of square footage. So we're headed back up this small hill, and we'll get up here into the shade again so that the sun may not be an issue with this photo, but we've turned around and we're facing pretty much into the sun, which would tend to mean that we're headed pretty much back towards the east. It's a nice neighborhood in the area, but typically when we're out here, you almost never see anybody outside of their house. And in North Carolina, unless they're either in the past when you're out in our neighborhood and others, it's not common to see people out and about in June and July during the day when it's pretty hot. Tend to stay inside. Earlier in the year when it's not so bad, you'll see lots of folks out and about walking around in the subdivisions and on the paths. Right now we're going back down the biggest hill in this section of the path. This particular path is reasonably well maintained. In the last 2 weeks they've come through and mowed the edges of it to knock the grass back some along the side. And if you look off to the right here, you'll see one of their projects. This particular group of houses, they came in and resodded that entire hill. Once they had resodded the hill, they've just recently started mowing it. But I believe that was not the landowner's issue. It appears that that was the homeowners association that came in and took care of that, as is the mowing that's taken place here. This is most likely the homeowners association responsible. And it's getting impatient because I wasn't catching up. So I just adjusted the speed so I can now go a little faster, keep up, and not create any more friction while going on this walk. We will keep an eye out as we go up around this corner back towards the school. We'll be looking for the deer and the fawn that we saw yesterday as we go out. I have no idea whether they'll be here, but because we have this brushy wooded area underneath the power line, there is some likelihood that we'll get an opportunity to see them again. But as you see in front of me, we're about to go up quite a big grade here. Now, for those of you who are bikers in Ohio, this would be a bit unusual and would require a fair amount of work to get up, even though it may not look like that. Nice house here on the right. You can see that they have put the yard in. That was about 3 weeks ago that yard was put in with sod. It's pretty common down here that the houses all have sod laid in around their yard. Now, as Elmer Fudd would say, we got to be really, really quiet as we approach this next turn in case the mother deer and the fawn are visible. so far. Looks like we missed them. We're now going back up the hill behind the school. So far, no indication the deer are even anywhere near close. If we get a chance up here to find some black-eyed Susans, I will try to turn and get you a shot of some of the flowers growing in here amongst the grasses on the right. The flowering may be over as I don't see any of the flowers, but they're the typical bright yellow flowering wildflowers. If you look off in the distance over here, I can see that one of our neighbors is running their sprinkler this morning, and you can see the second I'll turn here, and you can see the fencing they've put up to control the runoff because they're building a house on the lot next to the neighbor. But this is a typical look in our neighborhood. Quite a bit smaller, not quite as fancy. Going straight or stopping or what?
I think I'll stop for a minute. Get a drink.
Get rid of me?
Yeah. No, I gotta check on the time.
Too much of a distraction. Before we left, we put a frozen pie in the oven, thinking that this would be a good way to get away from the house and the smell of the pie baking and temptation to immediately cut that baby up. After all, it is an apple pie. Anyway, we're moving back into our neighborhood. We're making a right turn here, up here towards our house. There's our neighbor, Donna and Sherry, relatively new, of about 2 or 3 weeks. And it looks like